Police confirming that 6 construction workers who were sent into frigid waters after a cargo ship crashed and collapsed the Baltimore Key Bridge have perished. 2 of their bodies discovered today inside a pickup truck in 25 feet of water. Meanwhile, the black box containing critical voyage data recordings from the container vessel is being analyzed by federal investigators this hour. The National Transportation Safety Board is working to bring the final minutes of the ship's catastrophic voyage into focus.
We do have the data recorder, which is essentially the black box. We've sent that back to our lab to evaluate.
Their goal, locking down exactly what happened before the container ship's devastating collision with the Key Bridge. Along with grabbing the black box today, the NTSB team collected perishable evidence like electronics and documentation. Next, they will be interviewing the crew on board.
What made the ship lose power? What made them lose the ability to be able to steer the ship? So I think there needs to be a full reckoning, a full accountability.
The search continued today to find 6 road crew workers who plunged into the icy waters below. All 6 are now presumed dead.
We have boats on the water. We have divers that are in the water, and we also have aircraft overhead.
These are folks who are navigating extremely cold temperatures, who have real currents. It's incredibly dark down there, and they're working around mangled metal.
3 Mexican nationals were among the people on the bridge when it collapsed. 2 of them are presumed dead and 1 person was rescued. 2 Guatemalans are unaccounted for, and a father of 3 from El Salvador has also been identified as one of the missing, as has a father of 2 from Honduras, both of whom had lived in the U.S. for almost 2 decades.
For us and the family in Honduras, we still have hope. I know time is our worst enemy.
Everyone is searching for answers, and now the design of the bridge itself is under close examination. This after photos circulated showing the possible absence of fenders or protective barriers on the support pillars.
I've seen the pictures. Again, we'll want to look at everything that on the structure of the bridge.
The company that manages the vessel, Synergy Marine Group, is connected to at least 3 deadly incidents since 2018, according to authorities involved in those investigations. In 2016, the Singapore-flagged Dolly was involved in an accident in Antwerp. Synergy Marine Group says it's, quote, inappropriate to discuss those 3 previous deadly incidents at this time. But now the safety records of both the ship and Synergy will be central to the Baltimore investigation.
It may very well turn out that the ship owners are liable.
If any private party is responsible, then they will be held accountable.
An accounting that's coming into clearer focus with each passing day as the NTSB and other agencies piece together this tragic event. Meanwhile, there's a growing fear over the impact to the economy.
We are concerned about the local economic impact, with some 8,000 jobs directly associated with port activities. And we are concerned about implications that will ripple out beyond the immediate region.
There is not yet a cost estimate for damages due to the collapse or a timeline of how long the bridge will take to rebuild. So what comes next for the shipping industry after this devastating incident? Paul Brazier is the Vice President of Drayage and Intermodal Services at ITS Logistics. It's a company that offers supply chain solutions. Paul, thank you for joining us, because I know this has been a busy time for you. So first of all, what has the impact been within the last day when it comes to the port and the cargo that's now held up?
We're not very concerned about the cargo that's sitting at the Port of Baltimore. That'll get out, even though the ports are closed. When they open back up, that normal flow will happen. Since that bridge collapsed and shut off the inner harbor from the rest of the open water, ocean vessels now cannot call on that port. So now we've got dozens of vessels with freight that was destined to call there that now have to find a place to discharge that freight. So for the next, let's call it 7 days, the goal is to find out where the freight will be discharged. Primarily, right now we're seeing New York, New Jersey, Norfolk, Charleston, Savannah will be where most of that freight gets discharged. And then making sure that operationally we confer with our clients, get the freight out of those terminals and get them back into position in the markets that were serviced out of the Port of Baltimore. As we get 14 days and further, the concern is going to be you're going to have to set up normal operations because it's probably going to be about a 3-month closure of the Port of Baltimore. And how is that flow going to look, and how is it going to operate coming out of any of these eastern U.S. seaports where this freight's normally going to occur?
Do you believe any ships will be redirected to Canadian ports with the fallout of all of this?
You're going to have a ton of freight. We're talking about 300,000 containers a quarter that's got to find a new home. And what you'll get there is twofold. One, you're going to get additional volumes that people weren't prepared for. Infrastructure might not be scaled up to handle that. And then further, you're going to have shippers and BCOs that aren't used to operating in these areas that now need to cobble together transportation solutions to get the freight out. So in the near term, that's what we're looking at. Further to the point with Canada, you could see Montreal be utilized, especially if any of that freight was going into an FTZ in the United States that need to get further up into Canada. And then as we go past, let's call it, 3-4 months, there's going to be a trans-Pacific, what we call trans-Pacific, any freight that comes from Asia into North America component that you could start seeing calling the West Coast of North America. And that is where we could see some Vancouver taking on some of this. You could see Prince Rupert and some IPI that needs to get freight into, the Toronto and Eastern Canada, pick up some of this. And that could happen, as early as, 2-3 months out, and be something that is a pattern shift and bring some freight back to Canada that quite frankly was lost due to some of the labor strikes from last year.
And finally, Paul, how long might it take to rebuild a new bridge at this location?
I would say that to get the debris cleared up and the salvage efforts and the recovery efforts, and our hearts go out to those that lost their life. There's going to be a period where you have to clear that passageway. Estimated probably about 2-month process there. And then once that is cleared, then you start booking at origin, and there's about a month of transit from origin to the U.S. East Coast. So that probably is putting us somewhere in about 3 months, potentially, that we could see this port and the inner harbor shut down for containerized cargo.
Paul, I know you've been working with your clients in the U.S. who are impacted, so I appreciate you taking the time tonight.
Yeah, my pleasure. Have a good evening.